So welcome guys to Rest of Designs, and as you can see we're back on Project Freebie and the engine is looking very nice and neat and tidy. Now I've kind of, crossed the T's, dotted the I's, got all the little bits and bobs done on it that need to be done. It's running coolant now, got it running more or less with the fueling. Now all I had to do on the inside, which I'll show you guys quickly what I've done, was obviously the wiring was an absolute mess. And that's where the Mega Squirt's going to sit. As you can see, it's literally not moving from there at all. It's got loads of Velcro on the bottom of it. And the wires kind of run up over the column and down. So the plug's at the back, the vacuum's there. And then I've also run the wire for the communication wire, comes out just here. Kind of tucked it around so when I need to access the ECU. Maybe a bit short-sighted of me actually. I should have paid the extra actually and got maybe the Bluetooth. They also do a Bluetooth option, which would have saved me not having this wire, having to plug it in. Would make life a lot easier actually, but is done. Now all I've got left to do is kind of put these bottom trims on and then take it outside, and I'm going to show you guys. I'm going to run through actually setting the idle up and then doing some of the self-learning closed loop on the fueling, and then start taking it for a drive. And hopefully by the end of this video, we can take it for a little drive. As you saw in the last video, I also got it running, as well as also got my dodgy looking little tailpipe done for the time being. But once I've actually got the car running, and I can check the tone of it, and if it is a little bit loud, I do want this quite quiet, or not really quiet, but a bit more, menacing, but kind of a nice deep tone basically is what I'm looking for. So that's the reason again why I've done that tailpipe, so that then if I need to increase the volume of the box, I can. And then I'll make a proper, imitate the original GTI pipes, kind of going off to the side. But yeah, let's get this on, because also I've got myself a nice little gear knob as well to go on here. So I'm dying to show you guys. So yeah, let's put the rest of these trims on and I can show you the gear knob. So I got the dash back together again. And and I'm really happy with this gear knob. Got this from a guy off Instagram, and it's an original anniversary gear knob. And what he's done is customized it, so he's anodized this black, so it imitates the original one as much as possible. And then also he's made me a custom badge for the middle, which is obviously the 6-speed box, and reminds us what we're in. It's a 16 valve with a 6-speed box, which is pretty nice. So yeah, that's all done. So now moving on to a few bits actually. I found a few more niggles. I had to change this joiner here. I had the spring clips on, but obviously I've amended something here. These Jubilees are much better, so I had small little drip. That sorted that out. And also, I don't know how I didn't notice it before, the battery isn't charging. The alternator's not actually giving out any current. So first thing you'll do, actually, you're gonna double check the igniter, make sure the blue wire is actually in the right pin. And another part as well that I noticed as I was kind of softly closing the bonnet, because obviously I know these ABFs catch, some bonnets touch, some bonnets don't. And this one, it does seem to catch. So I'm just gonna trim this here and quite neatly, and then it will just not have any issues with touching and damaging the throttle body there. Okay, so I think first things first, let's do this igniter wire. I'm just double checking to make sure, as you can see on the alternator, you've got a W, which is for the RPM signal, and D+, which is for the diode, which is the igniter wire, and the pin is actually in the right one. So that isn't the cause, so it's probably a dead alternator. So on the bench, I've just taken the cover off. There's only a few screws that kind of hold it in place. Prized that off and looked at the diode. Yeah, the brushes, they are pretty worn, but they are making contact. Maybe the diode's dead on it. So what I'm gonna do is, I've looked through the ones I've got laying around. Unfortunately, I don't have anything that's nothing like this. They're all very different. So there's an electrician friend down the road who might actually have something. So, or if not, I'll try the parts spare shop here. They actually sell these little bits and pieces. Cleaned it up, and I put a bit of touch-up paint. As you can see, it's not exactly the same blue, but at least it's not going to rust. It's a very crude way of doing it. Here's the bit that actually has come off, and the reason why I've done it so crude is because the bonnet is obviously going to get sprayed at some point, but not this particular bonnet, because it's actually got rust coming through on there, and I actually have a genuine with no rust here, with no dents in it, which is actually the same color as well, royal blue. So I'm going to put that on. That's why I've kind of done it in that kind of way, but I know the body shop will do a lot better than I can, so they'll use that as a template and hopefully shape that a lot better than what I've done now. So I've got that sorted. I also ran up the car for a while, checked that alternator was running fine, and I see I've got like a little water leak from this flange, a little one there on the side of the head. So I'm just going to quickly take that off and maybe put some sealant on there, and hopefully that will sort that out. As well as, I had it on the floor and I've noticed, obviously the engine is a lot heavier than 1.3, even just the head with the inlet manifold and stuff, that really weighs quite a lot, these 16 valve heads. And obviously the 6-speed gearbox with the heavier clutch, heavier flywheel and all that kind of stuff. It's definitely noticed it that the car was actually sitting a good 15 mil lower than it was. So in doing so, I've also messed up the tracking a little bit. So I've just raised it up 15 mil. Now we're just gonna drop this. And okay, that's back to where it was, looking very OEM plus. And yeah, and the next thing now, like I said, is going to do that flange, and then I can take it for its first drive and start mapping it. Okay, so I need to give this a clean. This is actually the little trim bit that goes behind the headlight cover. So it kind of makes a nice seal and then directs all the air into that little kind of scoop. And if you want to see what scoop I've actually put on this, like the little intake at the front of it, there is a difference actually between the 16 valve, the GTDs and the VR6s. If you get a Corrado one, I think it's the largest one, or the G60, the second to largest one. That's actually what I've got in here, is actually a G60 lower box almost, so to speak, of like a little bit in. That's a couple of videos back actually. If you kind of go back through the playlist, you'll actually see what I'm talking about. But so yeah, I'm quite happy I found this. Going to give it a little bit of a clean, and yeah, and fit that on. So I've got as far as I can get with it now. There is still a few issues. There's a slight blow in the exhaust, and a few other little bits and pieces that I want to actually tidy up in the engine bay. But those bits can wait, because I'm really dying to actually take this for a drive and see what the gearbox is like, what the high compression, how is it going to behave, and the cams and everything in relation to that. And yeah, I'm just really excited to actually give this a first little test drive. Okay, so first things first, let's get it out of here, give it a wash, and then we'll take it onto the road, and I can give you guys my first impressions of what I think of this engine build. It really is a Frankenstein engine in here. It definitely seems to work so far. I mean, obviously the proof is in the pudding once I kind of open it up, see what full throttle can do and on the rolling roads. But first impressions, I'm happy. First impressions, it's got potential. It definitely feels like it really is raring to go. Yeah, it feels so torquey. For the amount of throttle input that I'm putting in, it's really quite nice the way it just picks up. I mean, I can definitely feel the potential in it. It looks like the balance of the cams, the 268s, with the compression ratio of around 11.5, that seemed to work very, very well. So basically the target now is to do about 1,000K in it, do an oil change, and then start mapping it above 4,000 as far as I can do on the road before we actually take it to DD Motorsport after the summer holidays, because he's on holidays now for August. Yeah, it just feels like it wants to go. It really does. So join me guys for the next video in this, getting it on the rolling roads in September. All right guys, have a good summer. and see you guys on the other side.